The Secret Story of Sonia Rodriguez by Alice Lawrence Sitomer, Chapter 11. Remember, you can always click on the link. This isn't the actual link, though. Click on the link if you would like to just listen to the story and follow along. And forgive me for not having such clear images, but the moment's the best I could do. Chapter 11. As I watched fat Tia Luna stuffing chorizo into her mouth like one of those walruses gobbling dead fish at the zoo, I realized that the telenovela-sized shame, a scandal, with my drunken would have brought down on every Rodriguez this side of Nogales if I had opened my mouth. Latinos love gossip more than they like big hats and rosary beads. And what could be more juicy than the conceited daughter of Alfredo Rodriguez falsely accusing her tío of being a rapist? Most of my family members thought I was stuck up and conceited anyway. Conceited means the same thing as stuck up. Personally, I didn't think this was true, but being the good student, the dutiful daughter, and the one who planned on graduating from school without getting pregnant, addicted to drugs, or caught having sex with a black man always made other family members jealous of me. How come when a person tries to do good, so many people try to bring them down? Even in my own familia, one thing was segura though, if I had been a boy, it would have been different. How strange, huh? Gender roles here. The plan to stay clear from my drunko worked great. For weeks, I had pretty much been able to avoid being alone with him without any problems. Mostly because we had so many people living under one roof, and someone was almost always home. Besides, he was always bebido, and it's just not that hard to avoid someone who stumbles around all the time due to tequila, said Tia Luna, sucking on her teeth when she saw her brother lying bombed out on the floor at 3:20 in the afternoon. The devil has him in his grips. We must do something. She reached for more chorizo. I could tell by the way Tia Luna was gobbling down fatty chunks of pig meat that a plan was brewing in her head. On the inside, I grew excited. Of course, on the outside, I couldn't show it, and I had to simply continue to sit at the dining room table doing my homework under the light of my study lamp. But it felt good to know that something big was being planned for my drunko. Whenever Tia Luna got that look in her eye about a family member, something big always happened. Something big and unpleasant. Maybe she'd have my drunko move in with her instead of us to get more Jesus in his life. Maybe she'd take him to an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting and make him say, "Hi, my name is Ernesto, and I'm a mean and nasty drunk." Of course, he could also say, "I'm a liar, a cheater, a pervert, and all around scum sucking dirtbag." I wonder if they have meetings for each of those things as well. Maybe she'd just bring a priest over to do an exorcism, realize my drunkle was far too possessed by Satan for regular means, and shove a hot poker 3 feet up his butt in the name of Christ the Savior. No matter what was cooking inside that little birdhouse of a brain in my aunt possessed, I knew something bad was going to come of it for my drunkle. And something bad for my drunkle was, of course, something good for me. He'll be 40. He'll be 40 years old next week, my aunt said, with a serious look on her face. Sí, Ernesto was turning into un viejo, answered mi mamá in Spanish. I know what we must do, my aunt finally announced. I leaned forward to listen. This was going to be good. We'll throw him a birthday party. ¿Qué? I said. A birthday party, a grand 40th fiesta, to celebrate this important milestone in his life. That's the stupidest idea I've ever heard of, I said. My aunt scowled at me. I'll pretend the devil didn't make you say that. I lowered my eyes and looked back at my schoolwork. A great expression of our love will show his heart the way to Jesus, Tia Luna explained. We'll invite everyone, the cousins, his compadres, the whole neighborhood. It will be a day to honor him unlike any other day he's ever known. Pero his birthday is Saturday, mi mamá concerned that there wouldn't be enough time to properly host a party for what could easily be 90 to 100 people. Not to worry, everyone will contribute. Food, cakes, cervezas, assured my aunt. A fiesta like this is just what he needs to show him the goodness of the Lord. And just like that, it was settled. On Saturday night, a gigantic 40th birthday party was going to be thrown to get my drunkle to give up his alcoholic ways. The fact that we were doing it by giving him a party that served alcohol didn't seem to bother anyone a bit. Of course, I was sure that if my drunkle knew of this big party being planned in his honor, he would have said thank you. But since he was lying half conscious on the floor in front of everyone, the only sound he was able to make was a fart. Initially, I was scared that I would have to do everything for this party all by myself. But Tia Luna took a moment to assure me that this wouldn't be the case, that everyone would contribute. So everyone's going to help out. Everything will be taken care of, Sonia. All you need to do is make the tamales. Oh, that was it, huh? Just the tamales? Why didn't she ask me to build a barn so we could give him a horse too? Besides, your mother and I will help you with them. It would be quality mujeres time for us. To this day, I still don't know why I believed her. Guess who missed the next 3 days of school? Sonia did, right? If a person watches the few movies they actually do make about Latinos, they'll always show the women in the kitchen sharing the joy of making tamales while smiling, laughing, and bonding in ways that passes wisdom down from one generation to the next. That's why I hate Hollywood. It's nothing like reality. Making tamales is a giant pain in the ass. First, you make the dough, the masa, the chicken broth, the mixing of the lard until it's all fluffy. I hate lard, and I hate making it fluffy, and I hate combining everything together afterwards and then adding in all the seasoning. Making leather shoes for 200 feet would be easier. After a whole day of slave labor in the kitchen, I had dough. Big deal. Later that night, I did homework. Day 2 started with chopping chiles, chopping tomatoes, chopping onions, chopping garlic, chopping jalapenos, peño peppers. Mi mamá, knowing how hard it was to chop so much food for so many tamales, finally came into the kitchen to help. That was nice of her. But after being on her feet for 20 minutes, she told me that her ankles had started to swell due to the pregnancy. And she explained how el doctor didn't really want her on her feet. So she went back to watching telenovelas in the bedroom. I think she chopped a few carrots though, but I wasn't sure because she brought them back into her room to snack on. The only break I took was for lunch, to make my mother's lunch. After all, pregnant women need to eat, don't they? Of course, Tia Luna was a total no-show. She was probably off buying little crucifix candle holders for decorations or something like that. I was so behind schedule by the second afternoon that I had to use the store-bought chili sauce. You've heard of the 7 deadly sins according to the Bible. Well, the 8th sin in mi cultura is using store-bought ingredients for homemade tamales. However, I didn't care. If it hadn't been for jarred chili sauce, I wouldn't have finished until my drunkle's 400th birthday. Then came the husks. Las hojas, the husks. Sorting, soaking, patting them dry, spreading the dough, filling the tamale, folding the tamale, and finally tying the tamale. By the 17th, my wrist hurt. By tamale 17, my wrist hurt. By tamale 36, my elbow ached. By tamale 41, my arms, neck, shoulders, and forearms were in such burning pain that I was ready to sue my mother for causing carpal tamale syndrome. Then mi papi walked in. Needless to say, I wasn't in the best of moods. Tamales, he said in an upbeat voice. Reminds me of your abuelita. Her tamales are made with magic. Well, unlike grandma's, these are made with old El Paso, I answered rudely. Sweat dribbled from my temple. We sat there in silence for a minute. I realized I had been nasty to my father. There was no need. Mi papi worked this hard for us all the time. What are you doing home? I asked in a voice that tried to sound nicer. Navidad número dos, he answered. Christmas number two. Navidad número dos was a little joke we had about my father's work schedule. He only got 2 holidays off a year from the gym, where he cleaned locker room towels from 5:30 to 11:30, 6 nights a week. The first Christmas, Navidad número uno, the set the first Christmas, yeah. The second day off was when they waxed the racquetball courts. Once a year, the gym would close half a day early so that the racquetball courts could be buffed and shined to a nice polish for all the white people who played on them. We called this Christmas number two. I wish he would have at least gotten New Year's off, but the gym was always open for those fat people with new resolutions and crazy workout freaks who had no life beyond exercise and organic food. As mi papi said, January was always the busiest month because of all the plumpies trying to lose weight. But by February, things slowed down a lot for him. I guess they all went back to eating donuts for dinner again. I spread, filled, folded, and tied another tamal. My hair stuck to my neck from perspiration, from sweat. I looked at the pile of food with anger. Only in mi cultura could a person waste so much time on one tamal. Sorry, on one meal. I'm thinking of tamales. Mi papi stared at me in a thoughtful way. I bet I looked like a 50-year-old woman to him, and I didn't care. Vamos, he said suddenly. No puedo, papi, I responded as I looked over at the mounds of food yet to be prepared. Even though I had no idea where he wanted to go, I knew I couldn't join him. Anda, vamos, he said more forcefully. Quiero una nieve de fresa. I stopped mid tamal. Strawberry ice cream Spanish style was my absolute favorite in the whole world. To me, there was nothing more delicious on the planet. Mi papi knew this was my weakness. No puedo, papi, I said again softly, though it certainly was nice of him to offer. But really, I can't. There was still so much more to do before tomorrow. Si puedes. He insisted, taking the tamal I was about to fill. Quiero una nieve de fresa, he repeated in a determined voice and pulled me by my arm out of the kitchen. There was no fighting him. Mi papi had a grip that could crush a metal pipe, and I was so tired that before I could even resist, we were in the living room, where Rodrigo and my uncle were watching a football game on TV. ¿A dónde van? Asked my brother, wanting to know where we were going. I'm sure he would have loved us to bring him a nieve de limon with chocolate chips on it. That was his favorite. And of course, my uncle would eat some ice cream. Usually he liked mango. Plus, my brothers in the back of the house and Mama, everybody loved nieve, no matter what the flavor. Going on an ice cream run would make the whole house happy. Regresaremos, said mi papi, not directly answering Rodrigo, but instead telling him in a very clear tone something that meant, we'll be back, and it's none of your hot damn business where we're going. My uncle's eyes looked away from the TV and scanned over to mi papi. A moment later, and without a word, my uncle's gaze returned to the television set. He didn't dare question my father. There was only one rooster in this hen house, and in this hen house, that was for sure. That was for sure. One rooster in this hen house, meaning there's only one boss in that house, and it's her dad. Rodrigo took the hint as well and quietly went back to watching the game. As it happens, it was the third football game in a row, a special, never get off the couch triple header. Mi papi turned to me. Lista? He asked, and wanting to know if I was ready. Screw it, I thought, and took off my apron. I hadn't even put on any ingredients in the kitchen away. Sí quiero ir, I answered. I slipped on my shoes and took a step towards the door. Sonia! My mother's voice suddenly called from the bedroom. I stopped and began to turn, but my father quickly hurried me out of the house and closed the door before she could yell, Ayúdame! I looked at him with curiosity. What if she really needs something? Nieve de fresa, he said, looking at me with a small, mischievous smile. De travieso, mischievous. Travieso. A moment later, we were walking down the street. Papi wasn't concerned about mi ama. She'd live, he figured. When I was a little girl, Papi and I used to go for Spanish ice cream all the time, and we always held hands. Our private walks were some of the most happy memories I've ever had. Of course, when you grow up and you're a teenager, it's not really that cool to walk down the street holding hands with your father. But right then, I didn't care. I slipped my hand into his and we made our way down the sidewalk. Holding hands with mi papi didn't make me feel ashamed. In fact, I couldn't have been more proud if my father had been the first Mexican on the moon. To me, mi papi represented everything a real Latino should be. He was honest, hardworking, caring, and made sacrifices for his familia without calling attention to himself and without ever asking for anything in return. He didn't drink, smoke, lie, or complain. He even paid his taxes. Of course, he had to use a fake social security number to pay them, and the government had no way of giving him credit for his tax contributions. But mi papi felt it was the right thing to do since his kids went to American schools, his wife rode on American buses, and his feet walked on American streets. Technically, because mi papi was illegal, the government really shouldn't have kept his money. After all, it wasn't being properly and legally collected by them. But of course, they did. For some reason, his check to the IRS always got cashed. So basically, when people work, money gets taken out for taxes, both state taxes and federal taxes. And then when people do their taxes, sometimes they get money back from the government. Sometimes they have to pay. But here, she's saying that because her dad is illegal, that he is paying these taxes basically because he wants to be part of. He wants to be a contributing part of society where he knows that his family is using what the taxes pay for, like streets and public transportation and education and things like that. Hand in hand, we turned a corner and made our way down the street. I looked up and saw danger. A few cholos were hanging out on the sidewalk. Some scary looking gangster teens with shaved heads and long white t shirts. Around my neighborhood, the police had very little control over the youth, and in many ways, cholos ruled the community. But my father paid them no mind and simply said, Buenas, as we passed. If I had been alone, I would have been terrified of those four boys with tattooed necks and baggy pants. But walking along with mi papi and seeing the way he greeted them suddenly, I wasn't afraid at all. Buenas, one of the cholos said, nodding his head in return. Though Latino gangsters don't respect much, they do respect a hardworking family man. We passed without a problem. Mi papi gets labels put on him by United States society, but I don't see how he is any different from the pilgrims. The pilgrims I studied in history class. The pilgrims came to America searching for opportunity. So did he. The pilgrims worked hard and made positive contributions to the nation. So does he. The pilgrims tried to live a decent lifestyle. So does he. After all, it's not like the pilgrims had papers. And look at what they did to the Indians when they got here. By comparison, Latinos like mi papi are a bunch of fluffy, soft lambs. If you don't know what the pilgrims did to the Native American Indians that lived here, basically they killed a lot of them. What it really comes down to, and what gabachos don't want to hear, is that white people are hypocrites. They want their lettuce picked, their houses cleaned, their gym towels washed, but they don't want to give the people who do these things a good salary or job benefits. They make big money off cheap immigrant labor, like mi papi. And if the Hispanics weren't here to do these jobs, who would do them? The whites? Yeah, right. The blacks? They might clean a few sauna towels, but do you really see them out in the fields picking fruit? I doubt it. It reminds them too much of slavery and picking cotton. Would the Asians do it? Possibly yes. Possibly no. But let's face it, a salad isn't a salad without a Mexican. And we all know how white people love salads. Could you imagine the gringa ladies without them? Ay, there'd be a revolution. In the back of their minds, maybe white people are scared because they know the day of the Latino in America is coming. We may be a slow people, and it may take another 5 or 10 or 20 or 50 years, but one day The Latino voice in America will be heard. And when it is, it will be loud. There are just too many of us. So this is a good paragraph that I'm gonna probably have you reflect on. But um, have you ever wondered why it is that Latinos, being that there's so many Latinos here in the United States, why is it that we as Latinos have not organized? And African American people had Martin Luther King. He organized them into, that's when the whole civil rights movement happened, right? So why haven't Latinos gotten, you know, someone to represent us and be that voice? And I'll tell you one of the reasons, okay, because I'm sure there are many, many, many reasons. But one of the reasons is that Latinos, there's so many of us. We have Latinos from Mexico. We have Latinos from Central America. We have Latinos from South America. We have Latinos, lots and lots of people are considered Latinos. And we're actually pretty, even though we have a lot of commonalities like the language, but there's a lot of differences. So we haven't found that one person that represents all of us in some way, shape, or form, who we all trust, and who we all, not all, of course, but who most of us trust and have faith in, and is willing to represent. So that's one of the reasons why it has been this difficult. But she's saying here, and I believe it too, that someday it's coming. Okay, the Latino voice will be heard. However, my guess is that our voice will probably be first spoken by Latinas. Our men are proving to be too weak in this country. Not all of them, but too many of them love alcohol, drugs, violence, and laziness way too much, and it keeps our whole culture down. But now there is a new generation of Hispanic ladies. In a way, this has been our first chance in history. Birth control, bilingualism, and bachelor's degrees. The three B's are giving us power. So she believes that women are the ones that are going to be um, paving the way, or are going to lead this. And she does say not all men, love the alcohol and drugs and all that, but a lot of them unfortunately do, and that's not helping, pave the way. Watch out, America. Here come the Latinas. Walking along with me papi, I grew excited about my future. We got to the ice cream shop and ordered. Dos, por favor, said mi papi, pointing to the flavor we wanted. Grande, I smiled. We each had our own large. The lady filled our order, and mi papi paid with a $10 bill. Not being able to wait once the lady put our order on the counter, I grabbed a white plastic spoon and took a big bite. Mmm. As a taste hit my tongue, my body melted. Did I mention how much I love nieve de fresa? Then I saw mi papi. He wasn't eating. Something was wrong. Instead of taking a bite of his ice cream, mi papi stared at the change that had been given to him by the lady behind the counter. It wasn't correct. I watched him recount the money 2 times, and the lady who served us walked away. Papi paused and counted it again. This time I counted it with him. The lady had mistakenly given me Papi change for a $20 bill instead of a 10. I smiled. It was good. It was a good break for me, Papi. He worked so hard for his money that free ice cream and a little extra cash never hurt. After all, if anyone deserved it, he did. Discúlpeme, my father then called out to the ice cream lady. No, papi, keep it, I thought. The lady walked back over. I stood there and watched as mi papi explained that she had made a mistake and had overchanged us. The lady looked at the money mi papi held in his outstretched palm, and her cheeks grew red. Ay, the lady said, muchas gracias, señor. De nada, answered mi papi as he handed her back the extra money. A moment later, we walked outside and sat down on the outdoor table. Mi papi dug a spoon into the ice cream and took a big bite. I saw satisfaction come to his face. I stared at him. He seemed to know why. Do not stoop to that level, mija, he said. He said to me in a simple voice, "You must always remember, do not stoop to that level." It was as if it had never been a question for him about giving back the money to the lady. Then he took a second bite of his nieve de fresa. Mmm, he said, está buena. I smiled. Spanish ice cream really was the best. After walking around and doing a whole lot of nothing for another hour, we returned home. Rodrigo was still on the couch. My uncle had gone out. My younger brothers were running around playing championship wrestling, trying to kill one another. And mi mamá was standing in the kitchen in the midst of a huge unfinished pile of tamales. She opened her mouth to say something. Then she didn't. I think the look in mi papi's eyes scared her off. A moment later, my father went to the sink, rolled up the sleeves, and began to wash up. "Now, let's make some tamales," he said. "Papi, no," I said. "Go watch the game with Rodrigo. It's your night off, and I know you love football." "I'll finish," I said. Mi papi ignored me and glared at mi ama. "Please pass me the spoon," he said. Mi ama lowered her eyes, did as she was asked, and passed my father the spoon. A moment later, she too went to the sink and started washing her hands. The three of us finished making the rest of the tamales in about 40 minutes. However, I can't say we talked that much, at least not verbally. That's the end of chapter 11.